Hey, what is up, my YouTubian subscribers? Here to do my first ever discussion video, this time on Blake Belladonna. Now, I'm planning to basically discuss all of the main RWBY characters: RWBY, Rose, Jean Arc, Yang Xiaolong, Weiss Schnee, and then I'll do probably a combined Ren and Nora video because their backstories are so intertwined and their personalities are dictated by one another, so much so that I think that Ren and Nora just deserve their own videos. Now I might eventually discuss just things in RWBY in general, like I like Crow, the Huntsman system, the four schools, the four maidens, the four relics. I might eventually do discussion videos on that. But anyways, like, comment down below, on with the show. Now, if you like Blake, I'd leave because I haven't made it a secret. I don't like Blake Belladonna much. That being said, like if you're on Amino, comment if you're on Amino, like if you're on YouTube, comment if you're on YouTube. I do answer pretty much everything. Every comment I have, I'll answer. So yeah. Now, sorry, it's just I'm gonna dig into my past a tiny bit here, and I know you're not gonna like it because I would just for a moment here, I'm gonna discuss myself. If you couldn't tell by looking at me, I'm Native American or Métis. I'm Métis. Now, if you don't know what Métis is, I've been raised to be Native American. Like, this light doesn't show it. I'm brown. It's a yellow light that tans my skin red. It looks like on my screen. But what I'm getting at is I'm a native. I've seen I've had cops look at me and then come up to me, sniff my drink, and say it smells like alcohol and pour it out. It happened like 2 or 3 times. It happened twice with pop and once with a Slurpee. I've had cops do that to me. I've had cops stop me and talk to me for 15 minutes, asking where I've been and what I'm doing. And when I asked why they're asking me these questions, they said, "Oh, I fit the description of a suspect." I've had people on my native side. If we're gonna talk about full disclosure, I've had people on my native side be hateful against me because I'm an urban Indian. I'm an urban Indian. I was raised in the city, so the natives on the reserves don't like me because I was raised in the city. Um, I've had people mock me because of that. I've had natives mock me because of that. I've had people uh, I've had teachers wonder if I'm plagiarizing people because I'm above average when it comes to intelligence, even though I'm also fucking autistic. Well, not autistic. I'm high functioning. I'm on the autism spectrum, high functioning. But that's beside the point. So when I learned about Blake, I liked Blake to begin with. Is what I'm getting at. I could really relate to her. She was from an oppressed group. The faunus were treated like shit. They're an allegory to the faunists. Essentially are an allegory to all of the everyone who's oppressed in our world: the natives, the blacks, the Muslims, the Latinos, everyone essentially. And I really thought that was a good idea. I thought that, hey, it's inclusive without being choking. Like, I don't agree with Marvel does it wrong. RWBY did it right in my mind. Marvel just forces characters of color into positions of power, and I'm like, no, that's not good writing. That's bad writing on a fundamental level. Whereas Blake Belladonna, it was good. She was kind of reserved, she was kind of quiet, and it would make sense if she spent most of her life avoiding contact with humans because they're all racist, or she feels like they're all racist, all bigoted. It would make sense that she's kind of more reserved and quiet when she's dealing with humans who she doesn't trust yet, especially Weiss, who comes from a family of known racists, or at least perceived racists. That being said, that was quickly shattered. Every season we got something that contradicts contradicts Blake's backstory. Every season. The first season we're introduced to not just a huntress but two huntresses in training who are faunus, Blake and Velvet. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, Carden Winchester bullied Velvet. He's an equal opportunity bully. I think people are forgetting the second half of the first arc of RWBY was all about Jean's leadership arc was about him overcoming his being bullied by the same character, Carden Winchester. Like he's an equal opportunity bully. He's just an asshole. He's not a. I don't know if he's racist. If he's willing to hate on Jean and bully Jean for no reason. Volume 2, immediately you're introduced to a character who runs a shop, Tuxin in his book trade. Volume 3, you meet not only another Faunus huntress, but one from supposedly the most racist of the kingdoms, Atlas. Neon Cat. She represents motherfucking Atlas, and Atlas is supposedly racist. No, she's an Atlas. She literally represents the most racist kingdom, and she's a Faunus. We look at the crowd during the Vital Festival, and it's not segregated. You don't see the frickin' humans getting all the best seats, and then you have the Faunus sitting on the lower deck. No, it's an integrated crowd. But arguably the worst thing they ever did with Blake's story is introduce Menagerie, Gira Belladonna, and Collie Belladonna. That's arguably the worst, because that completely shatters any illusion that Blake has reasons to be the way she is. Okay, with the introduction of two loving parents and Menagerie, which is a very, very well off place. Like it's just everything she says is gone in volume 4. Everything. She's no longer from an oppressed race. And then you add to that the fact that volume 5 we learn that Leo Lionheart is a lion faunus. He's literally one of the 4 premier hunters teaching the next generation. And I'm not gonna, like, if you haven't watched Mediocrity 124, his recent review for volume 5 chapter 11, he basically goes off on a tangent about how the White Fang are no longer relatable because they're attacking their own people. Essentially, is what he's saying, and I'm like, have you not been paying attention to the Granders, Ferguson, Missouri? They frickin' everywhere you go, everywhere Black Lives Matter goes, a riot follows. Essentially, they're extremists. They'll hurt anyone who doesn't follow their rhetoric. It's not that they attack the city that matters. The problem is that's not my main issue. My main issue is that Blake is a character. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I hope you guys don't mind. I'm not gonna cut it because I actually like where this take is going. So we learned too much that contradicts her personality, that breaks down her personality to just being a bitch. Like, that's just, and go and throw this video over to what's his face there, Gilfish. He's defended Blake, and I don't agree with him. I think Blake on a fundamental level was broken by volume 4 and shattered in volume 5 because her personality comes from nowhere. She's not from an oppressed group, or even if they're oppressed, she would never have felt that oppression because she literally grew up on Menagerie with 2 loving parents, and so the racism wouldn't have affected her as much as someone like Sun Wukong. Sun, another guy who's a faunus who represents one of the 4 major schools. Like, it's just everywhere we go. There's no form of racism other than like a couple of signs in volume 5 that say no faunus. But even then, that's maybe not relatable, but understandable. I mean, this is just shortly after the fall of one of the 4 major kingdoms, and who helped? The White Fang. Who are the White Fang? Violent faunus extremists. And so I don't agree. Like, I don't agree with like people like if I ever saw someone say, no, we're not going to serve you because you're Muslim, I would be like, that's fucked up. You don't do that. That's racism. That's Islamophobia. You don't do that. However, it's understandable in the sense that they just seen one of the 4 kingdoms fall due to faunus, essentially, due to the help of faunus and faunus extremists. So and the fact that the faunus themselves aren't willing to do much, it literally took the White Fang attacking one of the Menagerie, one of the chieftain of Menagerie, for the faunus to take action against the White Fang, and it's like, dude, no. Now back on topic, Blake Belladonna. Now, like I was saying, Menagerie being like this gorgeous, this freaking amazing tropical island. No, they have no food shortages, no housing problems, no plumbing, no problems on that island. Period. Then the seas are open. When we first heard we're going to Menagerie with Blake, I was like, great. We're gonna see what shaped Blake into the woman she is when in the main series. Instead, we got the opposite. We got Blake becoming a bitch, a straight out bitch, and I'm gonna just keep saying it because there's no redeemable quality in Blake anymore. Blake is just she's a violent BLM protester for no reason. She's one of those millionaire NFL players complaining about being oppressed when they're not the ones who are being oppressed. There's hundreds, if not millions, thousands of black people living on the streets. There's hundreds, if not millions, of white people. Those are the people who are being oppressed. Those are the people who are gonna struggle all their life and probably die on the streets. Those are the ones we should be worried about, not middle class white people or middle class black people. We should be worried about the poor, the hungry, the sick. We should be looking at those people for to help them. But I'm getting off topic and this is turning too political. So back to Blake. I'm sorry. It's just it hits home for me. It's one of those things where I see it all the time in my community. I see native people blaming the government for all their woes in life, and I'm like, no, no, like, yeah, the government started a cycle of broken homes, a cycle of broken families, a cycle of violence, but there's also a point where you just can't blame that anymore, where you gotta look at our community and say, hey, we're just as much at fault, if not more so, than any more so. Not just as much, no, more so. We're at fault for our own actions. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna leave my kid when I have a kid just because me and her mom fight. No, I'm gonna try. Me and her mom fight, or his mom fight. I'm not gonna leave. I'm not just gonna peace out. I'm not gonna abandon my family. I'm not gonna drink till I can't remember anymore and beat up my wife. I'm not gonna be the stereotypical Native American. I refuse. That's not the path I'm gonna follow, and that alone will break us the cycle. I hope when my son or daughter grows up, they see me as an example of what to be instead of what not to be, or follow in my footsteps and become an asshole themselves. And anyways, sorry again. I'm getting off topic, but like you can see, it really does hit home for me that Blake is a type of character who's complaining about nothing. When you're introduced to Callie and Gira, I thought, oh well, maybe they're dicks, maybe they're really 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 anti-human. No, they want they literally want to integrate into human society as much as they can, and I'm like, dude, the and I get it. The White Fang were originally about that, but and Blake wants to do that, so I kind of get where she's coming from. That being said, when they became violent and the fact that she becomes a violent protester with the White Fang, it makes no sense because she has two loving parents, she has a good home, she literally has a mansion waiting for her back on Menagerie, and yet she chooses the life to live on the road and act like she's being oppressed. Go back to Menagerie, live your life as a princess, man. I'm sorry, it's just I get really heated when I talk about Blake. Um, I'm gonna call it right here. It's 15 minutes long. All I'll end up doing is getting really really mad. Securage signing off. Like, comment down below. Like I said, on if you're on Amino, comment. You can talk. You can talk about what I just said about Blake. Securage signing off.